Greetings and welcome back to the Casual Wargamer. Apologies for the delay in getting videos out. Things have been a little bit hectic in the real world, but we're back in the house. Today we're doing a long overdue video carrying on our Let's Talk series, and today we're going to talk about the Tau Empire. So, Tau Empire was not a faction in the original 40k. They didn't appear until 3rd edition. And in fact, when I had a slight hiatus between 2nd and 3rd, when I came back, there was this new codex sitting there next to a new other codex called Necrons, and I hadn't heard of either of them. I was a little bit intrigued. And I picked up the Tau Empire Codex alongside Space Marines because I thought this could be interesting. What are these guys? Ultimately, I decided they were not for me, and I stuck to Space Marines ever since. But Tau, the Tau get a bit of a negative response from a lot of players out there. And it comes from a couple of reasons. One is that they were basically shoehorned into the setting. The Tau exist because during the 1990s, there was a growing interest and fascination in Japanese culture, and a huge interest in from a lot of geek culture into the rising anime and manga that was beginning to appear on television, late night television, and in like video rental stores. Now, before anyone jumps on me there, I don't actually know the difference between anime and manga. So if you do know, let me know down below. But I'm using it as a sort of catch-all term for this. And that's why they have the sort of like Japanese battle mech sort of anime manga look to them. The idea was to try and draw in new players that were interested in that sort of thing, see whether we couldn't turn them into Warhammer 40k players. So ultimately, Tau were shoehorned in, and some people still feel a little bit grumpy about it. Personally, okay, the aesthetics and everything don't appeal to me, but in the last 30 years, I think the Tau have managed to solidify their place in 40k, so that's not an issue. To go alongside that, the fact that they are mech battlesuits, there's also a certain, I don't want to say racism, but there's a certain indication of them being Japanese in look and otherwise. I've seen people compare them to the Nemoidians from the Star Wars prequels, and their inherent, this is trying to be an Asian stereotype. Can't really comment on that. Don't know I've really seen it. I think in the, what was it called, the Exodite on Warhammer Plus, I don't think they necessarily come across as particularly Japanese in their style of talking and look and so forth. The appearance, obviously, say battle mechs, but that's it. The other thing that people really don't like Tau, and it's one of the reasons why I don't like playing against Tau, is they are ridiculously good in shooting. Warhammer 40k is very much a game where they try and balance things out. So if an army is good at one thing, they generally bad at another. Say Eldar, or Eldari as they are now, really, really good at shooting. They're not too bad in combat with the right units or the right characters, but ultimately they are squishy as all heck, and they get gunned down by the bushel. And that's the sort of side effect. They get really, really good in one area, but they are easy to spud if you get into them or you get a good line of sight on them, sort of thing. So it's supposed to balance out. The problem is that Tau are useless in close combat. I've had battlesuits and fire warriors taken down by my own poxwalkers before, and cultists in old games, which was rather amusing. But then they're pretty pants when it comes to the melee, the assault phase. But the shooting phase is through the roof. It's ridiculously silly at times and has been even worse in previous editions. And I think there is a general dislike of Tau because they kind of break that balance on that side of the game. But I think in general, players pick up on the memes going around and they dislike Tau for it. Personally, I don't have a problem with Tau in that sort of thing. I do think they need to be tweaked down in strength and power level and what have you, but obviously your opinion may vary. But let's jump on to the mechanics of their army in 40k. You have to bear with me, I'm having to do this through my laptop, which is just to one side. Okay, so their army rule is called For the Greater Good, and I kind of have issues with this because it is A, very, very wordy, and B, I find it rather unclear, and I have had people try and play it both ways, and I don't know really. Even researching it, I see comments from both angles, but let's go through the initial bit. Okay, so For the Greater Good reads as follows. If your army is Tau Empire, then in your shooting phase, units from your army can work in pairs to help each other target specific enemy units. When they do this, one is called the Observer unit, the other is the Guided unit. The enemy they are targeting is called the Spotted unit. Okay. Each time you select this unit to shoot, if it is not an Observer unit, it can use this ability. If it does, you select one other friendly unit with this ability that is also eligible to shoot, but is not a Fortification, Battle Shock, or an Observer unit. Till the end of the phase, this unit is considered a Guided unit, and that friendly unit is considered an Observer unit. Then select one enemy unit that is visible to both your units to be their Spotted unit. Typical Games Workshop, bad wording. You could have easily just condensed this in half. I'm sure of it. But we've got it. We've got Observers, we've got Guided, we've got Spotted. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in a Guided unit makes an attack that targets their Spotted unit, improve the ballistic skill of their characteristic by 1. And if the Observer unit has a marker-like keyword, they get Ignore cover as well. Okay. Each time a model in a Guided unit makes an attack that does not target their Spotted unit, worsen their ballistic skill by 1, because they're meant to be shooting the guy that's being targeted. Okay, now, can the Observer unit still shoot? Doesn't say. I've seen people say yes, they can, because it doesn't say. I've also seen people say no, they can't, because they're spotting for this unit. They are the Observer unit for this one. So if they do that, they can't shoot. It doesn't say. So can they spot for this guy and then shoot someone else? Or do they have to shoot the guy they're targeting? Or what? It needs to be, and I don't think I've ever seen anything anywhere to say one way or the other. Most people I play against with Tau assume that you can shoot even after you've been an observer or going to be an observer. But I generally think this is something that needs to be clarified because it's not 100% in there to say one way or the other. But let me know what you think on that. Or if I have missed something somewhere, if it's in one of these multiples of documents that have come out of my Games Workshop, let me know. But I have yet to see anything that I can remember that says that they can or can't. Now, this is better than what they used to have. Tau used to have a marker light ability in previous editions, especially from like 6th and 7th and earlier, where a unit with a marker light would target an enemy unit, they'd put a marker light token on it. Multiple units could do this to accrue tokens. The shooting unit could then remove multiples of those tokens to achieve one of several effects, either increase their weapons ballistic skill, increase their AP, ignore cover, do this, do that. And quite frankly, it was ridiculous. It was very, very OP. This is better. I don't know. I've never really liked the marker light approach to Tau. I just don't think it. I don't know. I can't put it in words, but it's not a kind of mechanic I think works very well. Anyway, let's move on to the detachments. You have Kauyon, which is, if I remember correctly, the default one that was in the index. Now, I've got to admit, Kauyon and its sister detachment, the Montkar, I think are pretty bloody awful. I don't know anybody that plays them now that we have a codex. The carry-on detachment rule is called Patient Hunter, and so from the third battle round onwards, all your ranged weapons equipped by Tau Empire models have sustained hits 1, or sustained hits 2 if they target their unit's spotted unit. Sustained hits is nice, but only for the second half of the game. I don't like this. The concept is you are luring the enemy in, and then you can basically just go boom, 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 and gun them down. And I'm sure if we were talking about this from a real world perspective, it's a fair tactic. It doesn't work on a war game that is on such a small scale on a almost 6x4 board. You either give the army sustained hits or you don't. Forcing your opponent to be basically pants with no special rule until the third battle round just feels nah. I don't think it was particularly popular, as I recall, when the index dropped either because of this. I don't know if you're trying to emulate that, luring them in. I'm sure there's a better way to do it than basically stopping people having their detachment rule until the second half of the game. Enhancements. You have Exemplar of the Carry-On for 20 points. Any Tau model except Kroot Shapers, because in this army nobody likes Kroot. While the bear is leading a unit, the Patient Hunter detachment can be used from the second battle round onwards with regard to the unit that character is in. So that's slightly better, but that's 20 points seems a little high for that benefit. Precision of the Patient Hunter for 15 points. Each time the bearer makes a ranged attack, add 1 to the hit roll. From the third battle round onwards, you add +1 to the wound roll. That one's fine. That one's fair. Solid image projection unit for 30 points. 30 points seems really high for this. After both players have deployed their armies, select up to 3 Tau Empire units from your army and redeploy them. When doing so, you can set these units up in strategic reserves if you wish, regardless of how many units are already in strategic reserve. That's nice and very handy dandy. Is it worth 30 points? I don't think so. And then you have through Unity Devastation for 25 points. Tau models only, but again, not the Kroot Shaper, because we don't like Kroot in this detachment, in this army. While this model is leading a unit, each time that unit is an observer unit until the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped by models in their guided unit have lethal hits when targeting their spotted unit. Again, I think this could be very less wordy. Well, that's nice. Gives lethal hits. 25 points? Not overly convinced. But, okay, they're fair enough. I just think the points are slightly out. Stratagems. You have 6 stratagems. So you have a tempting trap. In your shooty phase, 1 Tau Empire unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot this phase. The first time you use this stratagem, you must also select 1 objective marker not in your opponent's deployment zone until the end of the battle. That becomes your trap objective marker. Okay, that's cool. This is where you're luring them to it. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes a ranged attack that targets an enemy unit within range of your trap objective marker, you get +1 to the wound roll. But you can't use this on the first or second battle round. Okay. Surely the whole point of this is you should be making that trap. I get it. The enemy doesn't know it's a trap till they get there, and then you pop up and go, aha, daka, daka, daka. But again, I just don't like that it's limited to battle rounds 3 onwards. Point blank ambush in your shooting phase again. 1 Tau Empire unit from your army that's not been selected to shoot. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in this unit makes a ranged attack that targets an enemy unit within 9 inches, improve the AP by 1. Great. But you cannot use this in the first or second battle round. So let me get this right, Games Workshop. You're giving this detachment 6, let's count them, 6, can you see it? 5, 6, 6 specific stratagems, and then 2 of them can't be used until halfway through the game. Don't like it. Nice abilities, but didn't need that restriction. Seriously. Then you get Coordinate to Engage in your shooty phase. 1 Tau Empire unit from your army that has just been selected as an observer unit. Till the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack that targets their spotted unit, improve the ballistic skill of that attack by 1. And if your unit has Marker Light, attack it ignores cover. kind of seems a bit superfluous with what you've already got in for the greater good, but okay, maybe, combat embarkation, aka the coward stratagem. In your opponent's charge phase, just after an enemy unit is declared a charge, one Tau Empire infantry unit for your army that was selected as one of the targets of that charge, and one friendly transport. Your unit can embark upon that transport, providing that all models in that infantry unit are within 3 of the transport and there is sufficient capacity, and then your opponent can select new targets for that charge. Okay, yeah, keeps your infantry alive maybe a little bit longer. Yeah, I suppose that's okay. I've never seen anybody use it though. Transports, I find, generally are not a thing for Tau players that I face, or at least not more than one in an army. It's not like the old days where you'd see 2 or 3 of these zooming up the table. Photon grenades. In your opponent's charge phase, just after an enemy unit is declared a charge, one Tau Empire grenades unit from your army that has been selected as one of the targets of that charge, and the enemy unit must immediately make a battle shock test until the end of the phase. They get -2 to their charge rolls. That's nice, slowing people down, bit different. I likes it. And lastly, Wall of Mirrors. You use it at the end of your opponent's fight phase, and you pick one stealth, ghost kill, or come out under Shadow Sun. Remove that unit from the battlefield and place it into strategic reserves, but can't be done if they are within engage range of one or more enemy units. That's nice. That pulls your stealthy stuff back and lets you then bring it back down where you want it. Nice. It's not a great detachment. It never was originally, and it still isn't. Nobody wants to wait half the game to be able to use their special stuff. And as I say, since the codex dropped, never see anyone play this. Montcar, which is the opposite. During your first, second, and third battle rounds, ranged weapons equipped by your Tau Empire models have the assault ability. During the first, second, and third battle rounds, while the unit is a guided unit, those ranged weapons have the lethal hits ability. So this swaps it. So for the first 3 rounds, your models are running towards the enemy shooting, and then from the second half of the game, they're up front and getting mullered by the surviving enemy forces. Assault's nice. It does mean they get to run forwards and shoot, but considering how most table layouts are, I think using this kind of just puts you in a bit of a bad positioning. And bear in mind that Tau are an army that, although it has manoeuvrability, realistically wants to do the old Space Marine trick of be a gun line. Doesn't want to be running up towards the enemy like that. So again, I don't really rate it, and it does seem that a lot of players don't like it either. Your enhancements for this one are coordinated exploitation for 20 points. Any Tau Empire model only, but not Kroot Shapers, because this detachment, this codex, we don't like Kroot. While the bearer is leading a unit, each time that unit is an observer unit until the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped by models in the guided unit have sustained hits 1 against against the spotted unit. Okay, it's sort of copying the Cow Yon sort of thing to give sustained hits. It's not too bad. 20 points though. Exemplar of the Montcar for 10 points. Tau Empire models only, but still not Kroot Shapers. While the bearer is leading a unit, the killing blow detachment rules applies during that unit's fourth battle round. So that gives you the ability to use this for a turn longer. 10 points, I think, is just there to try and make you do it. Kind of try and make it an auto include, but I'm not convinced. If you've got spare 10 points, then fine, why not? But I generally find that from turn 3 onwards, assault's not all that important anymore. Strategic Conqueror for 15 points. At the start of the first battle round, before the first turn begins, select one objective marker on the battlefield. While a friendly Tau Empire model is in range of that objective marker and the bearer is on the battlefield, add 1 to the friendly model's objective control characteristic. Okay, so it only applies to that model, But again, 15 points isn't too bad, and if it does give you that slight edge to control an objective, then fine. And then you have Strike Swiftly for 25 points. At the start of the battle, before any moves are made using the Scout's ability, you can select 2 friendly Tau Empire units within 6 of the bearer that don't have Scout, and they get Scout 6. Okay, yeah, that's not a bad one, actually. 25 points might be a little high for that, in my mind. But that one's not too bad. Anything that gets you a little bit closer is always good. But all in all, again, I don't think they're great as enhancements, but hey ho. Then you've got your stratagems. So let's have a look at these. Just grab my obligatory cup of hot chocolate. Pinpoint counter-offensive. In any phase, 1 Tau Empire unit, but not Kroot, because again, we don't like Kroot, from your army that was just destroyed. You can use this stratagem even if that model was just destroyed. Till the end of the battle, each time a Tau Empire unit, but not Kroot, from your army makes an attack that targets the enemy unit that just destroyed your unit, you reroll the hit roll. So it's a revenge stratagem. Okay, fair enough. Good, especially if you want to take down the tank that got rid of such and such. Aggressive mobility. In your movement phase, 1 Tau Empire unit for your army that has not been selected to move this phase. Until the end of the phase, if they advance, they don't roll, they just get 6. That's nice, no complaints on that. Focused fire, start of your shooting phase. You pick 2 Tau Empire units for your army that have not been selected to shoot this phase and 1 enemy unit. Till the end of the phase, each time a model in either of your units makes an attack, it can only target that enemy unit and only if it's an eligible target for that attack. And when resolving that attack, improve the armor penetration by 1. But you can't use this on the 4th or 5th battle rounds. Again, you see, it's... I know what they're trying to do, it just doesn't translate very well into the game. Combat debarkation. In your shooting phase, 1 Tau Empire infantry unit that from your army that disembarked from a transport this turn. Till the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack that targets the closest enemy unit, they can reroll the wound roll. That's nice. Again, it's something that kind of tries to make you play transports, even though they generally don't get played so much now for Tau. And before anyone jumps me for this, the reason I say they don't get played so much now is because mostly what people play is battlesuits, which can deep strike anyway, so why do you need the transports? Anyway, Pulse Onslaught. In your 2 CP for this one. In your shooting phase, 1 Tau Empire unit, excluding Kroot, see where I'm going? From your army that has just shot, and 1 enemy unit, excluding monsters or vehicles, hit by 1 or more of those attacks. Until the end of your opponent's next turn, that enemy unit is shaken, and while shaken, it gets -2 to its movement, its advance and charge rolls. So you shoot something that isn't a monster or a vehicle, and you slow it down slightly. That's not too bad. And counter-fire defense systems. Again, it's 2 CP. In your opponent's shooting phase, just after an enemy unit selected its targets, 1 Tau Empire unit from your army that was selected as the target of 1 or more of the attacking unit's attacks. They've really got to work on this wording. Until the end of the phase, each time an attack is allocated to your unit, subtract 1 from the damage, obviously to a minimum of 1. So again, you've got some interesting ones, and you've got a load of stuff that is just, I think, very corner case. It's only going to come up that you're going to bother doing it very rarely. Again, I don't really rate it. I think the Montcar and carry-on detachments are fairly pants. You tell me otherwise if you disagree. Let me know. Then we get to Retaliation Cadre. Now, this is the one that everybody plays. I do not see a Tau army that doesn't play this. This is just the perfect detachment for Tau. So the rule for this is Bonded Heroes, which says every time a Tau Empire battlesuit model from your army makes a ranged attack that targets a unit within 12, you improve the strength of that attack by 1. If they target a unit within 9, they get +1, they improve their armor penetration by 1 as well. Basically, I know people like Fire Warriors, but battlesuits is where the Tau army is at. And this is nice. You've got 4 enhancements, as usual. You have internal grenade racks for 20 CP. Must go on a battlesuit model. The bearer has the grenades keyword, and each time the bearer ends a normal move, you can select an enemy unit that it moved over during that move. You roll 6d6, and each 4+ is a mortal wound. It's basically the grenade stratagem built in as an enhancement. But also when you just drop, you're not throwing them, you're dropping them as you fly over. 20 points, I like that. Prototype weapon system for 15 points, also a battlesuit model. Each time the bearer is selected to shoot, it either gets lethal hits or sustained hits 1. Until those attacks are resolved, ranged weapons equipped by the bearer have the selected ability. Very, very nice on a cool battlesuit character. Pure-Tide Engram Neurochip for 25 points, also battlesuit model. Each time you target the bearer's unit with a stratagem, you roll a dice. On a 4+, you gain a CP. So in theory, cancelling out the cost. Nice. And Staff Flare Ignition Systems for 20 points, also on a battlesuit, because that's what the detachment's about. At the end of your opponent's turn, if the bearer's unit is not within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units, you can remove that unit from the battlefield and put it in strategic reserve. Nice, perfect, exactly what we want for battlesuits. You want them to come in, do their job, jump, come back down again. Nice. No problems whatsoever. Then to the stratagems. Okay, we have fail-safe detonator for 2 CP. Don't think this needs to be 2. This is a 1 CP strat in my opinion, but there we go. In any phase after a Tau Empire battlesuit model from your army is destroyed, you target the destroyed model. Even though it's been destroyed, it can use a stratagem. And before removing the model from play, if it has deadly demise, you don't roll for it. You choose whether it's a 1 or a 6. If your model doesn't have deadly demise, it basically gets deadly demise, and you roll d6 for every unit within 6, and on a 4+, they take d3 mortal wounds. So, if you die and you're surrounded by your own troops, you can go, I'm not exploding. If you're surrounded by enemy troops, you're exploding. And if you don't normally have deadly demise, it gives you deadly demise to an extent. It goes boom. It's nice, but I don't think it needs to be 2 CP. Then you have stim injectors. In your opponent's shooting phase or fight phase, just after an enemy unit has selected its target, you target 1 Tau Empire battlesuit that was a target of 1 or more of those attacks. Until the end of the phase, models in that unit have 6 up, feel no pain. That's nice on a battlesuit. Lovely jubbly. The shortened blade for 2 CP in your movement phase. 1 Tau Empire battlesuit from your army is arriving from the deep strike. You can set them anywhere on the table more than 6 inches away from enemy models, but they can't declare a charge. 2 CP, yeah, maybe, but a nice ability all the same. The Aracon protocol. In your shooting phase, you select 1 Tau Empire battlesuit that has not been selected to shoot. To the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack that targets an enemy unit that contains 6 or more models, they get sustained hits 1. If they target a unit that contains 11 or more models, it gets sustained hits 2 until the end of the phase. Very, very nice. Again, on the right battlesuit, that's decimating small, lightly armoured infantry. Torchstar Gambit. In your shooting phase, 1 Tau battlesuit from a unit that can fly, whose attacks have been resolved. If your unit is not within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units, it can make a normal move. If it does, it can't charge. So, basically, it's a little bit more speed. You finish shooting, you run out of behind cover, run into cover, or try and get away from any potential threats. And lastly, Grav Inhibitor Field. In your opponent's charge phase, after an enemy unit has declared a charge, you select 1 battlesuit that has been selected as the target of that charge. The enemy unit must make a battle shock test, and you roll a d6 for each model in the... let's reread this properly. The enemy unit must immediately make a battle shock test, and you must roll 1d6 for each model in the enemy unit. For each 6, they suffer a mortal wound. Yeah. Very, very nice. You see what I mean? This is a detachment that works. It doesn't try and fob you off to beginning of the game or second half of the game. It basically goes, you are fielding battle suits, which I generally find most Tau players do anyway, and we're going to give you some nice boosts. Every Tau army I faced since this codex came out plays Retaliation Cadre, bar one game, which I'm coming to next, which is the Kroot Hunting Pack. The Kroot Hunting Pack is your Kroot detachment, as the name says. So unlike the other detachments, which basically go, we don't like Kroot doing things or having nice things, this is the one that basically goes, play your Kroot. And it comes with 2 and a bit special rules. Hunter's Instinct, which says each time a Kroot model from your army makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll of the target if the target of that attack is below starting strength, and add 1 to the wound roll if the target of that attack is below half strength. Nice. Gives a boost to your Kroot. Skirmish Fighters. Kroot models from your army have a 6-up invulnerable save against melee attacks and 5-up against ranged attacks. Not so easy to gun them down. And lastly, the kind of part 1 is that Kroot Carnivores have the battle line keyword. Now, I have played against this detachment once because we have a player locally who likes playing Kroot, and previously has had to basically make do with, the Carry-On detachment. So when this came out, I got a game in. Pardon me. I actually was a little bit scared. I won the game. I'll point that out. My Marines actually won the day. But I was actually quite scared because this detachment makes Kroot quite tough and makes them a little bit scary in the hands of a good player. It's not an amazing detachment, but if your thing is playing Kroot and you like Kroot, this is not going to let you down. So enhancements, you have the, I hope I pronounce this right, the Borthrod Gland for 15 points. It must go on a Kroot flesh shaper. While the bear is leading a unit, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, an unmodified roll of 5+ is a critical hit. Nice. Kroot Hawk Flock for 10 points. Kroot only. Ranged weapons equipped by models in the bearer's unit have the Ignores cover ability, and enemy units that are set up on the battlefield as reinforcements cannot be set up within 12 inches horizontally of the bearer. Nice. Stops people getting in too close. Nomadic Hunter for 20 points. I'm not sure 20 points is right. It's too high. So Kroot Trail Shaper only. While the bearer is leading a unit, add 3 to the movement characteristics of models in that unit, and ranged weapons equipped by models in that unit have the assault keyword. It's nice. It means they're fast and they get in there and they shoot, but 20 points seems a little high. Root Carved Weapons for 10 points. Kroot War Shaper only. All weapons equipped by the bearer, so the War Shaper, have precision and devastating wounds. At 10 points, you're always going to put this on this guy if you have one. I'm not sure it was needed. It's kind of, they're not the strongest or the most hard-hitting of things, but that just seems a bit strange to give a Kroot model the ability to, basically snipe characters in, don't know, you tell me. It just seems a little bit of an odd inclusion. But, okay, fair enough. It gives them a chance to do something. Assassinate's probably a difficult objective for them anyway. So, stratagems. You have joined the hunt for 2 CP. In any phase, one Kroot infantry or Kroot hounds unit from your army that was just destroyed. You can target them even though they've just been destroyed. Add a new unit to your army identical to your destroyed unit, bar any characters that are attached to it, and they appear from strategic reserves at their starting strength. So it's a little bit like what Astra Militarum have, and you can only use this once for battle, same as them. Actually, that's quite nice. I'm not 100% sure that 2 CP is right for this, but, I could be wrong on that. A trap well laid. In your shooty or fight phase, one Kroot unit for army that has not been selected to shoot or fight. And here we have a big block of text again. After your unit has resolved its attacks, this phase, select one enemy unit that was hit by one or more of those attacks until the end of the phase. Each time a Kroot model from your army makes an attack that targets that enemy unit, unless the attacking unit is battle shocked, it improves their armor characteristic by 1. Again, too many words, G-Dub. Just cut it out. But good. It boosts the crew. EMP grenades in your opponent's shooting phase or fight phase, just after an enemy vehicle is selected to shoot or fight. You can target one crew grenade unit that is at 8 inches of that vehicle until the end of the phase, worsen the weapon and ballistic skill of that vehicle by 1. Okay, nice. Grizzly Feast, and I kind of like this one just for the thematics of it. In the fight phase, you target one crew unit from your army that destroyed one or more enemy units this phase. In your opponent's next command phase, each enemy unit within 6 of your unit must make a battle shock test. If the unit taking that test is below half strength, subtract 1 from the test. Enemy units affected by this stratagem do not need to take any other battle shocks in the same phase. So basically, you kill their units, you eat their dead, and they go, ugh. And I kind of like that. Then you have Guerrilla Warriors. In your movement phase, just after a recruit unit from your army falls back, that recruit unit is eligible to shoot and declare a charge until the end of the turn. Nice. And lastly, Hidden Hunters. In your opponent's shooting phase, just after an enemy unit has selected its targets, one recruit unit from your army was selected as target of one or more of those units' attacks. Until the end of the phase, the unit can only be selected as a target of a ranged attack if the attacking model is within 18 inches. Okay, nice. So it's not a great detachment. It's fun, and if you like your crew, it's awesome. But out of all of these, it is most definitely the Retaliation Kudra that people are going to play. Even I, Mr. Casual, can see why it's a great detachment. It's the best one in the book. Okay, so that is your detachments. 2 naff, one that's okay, and one that's really, really good. So let's just take a brief look at your unit options. Okay, where do we start? So you've got a number of various battlesuit commanders and crew characters. You've got Darkstrider, Commander Farsight, and Commander Shadowsun. There is one strange thing that I don't like, and I have seen it in some online YouTube battle reports. So Farsight is separate to the Empire. He's turned his back on them. He's a traitor to them, and they will quite happily bump him off. So naturally, you can't include an ethereal with Commander Farsight in the same army. But you can include Commander Shadowsun. The two of them would be, enemies, but for some reason, yeah, go for it. You can have Farsight Enclaves and Tau Empire working together. Okay, thematically, it's potentially possible if they fight one another and another threat turns up. But I personally think that Farsight should include the same thing in his rules as he says about ethereals with regards to Shadowsun or any other future epic heroes for Tau Empire. That's a niggle for me, and I don't really expect anyone else to stick to it, but it bugs me that that's the case. Battle line, you've got breacher teams and strike teams. With the right character, the right enhancements and so forth, breacher teams, I should say, are quite nasty. I've seen them used against me to quite good effect, to the fact that if I see them on there, those things are going to die. Interestingly enough, you get 3 fortifications in this: the drone port, the gun rig, and the shield line, all tide wall units. I've seen, not probably since about maybe 8th or 9th edition, I've seen someone use the shield line and the gun rig against me, and they did it once, and then they went, these are useless, never used them again. Yeah, I'm not really sure why people would include those in their list. They're not great. The rest of your list, your potential options are really good. You've got a variety of battle suits, and the way battle suits work now, as I'm sure you know after this time, is that rather than cherry pick the weapons you want, battle suits are now built with specific weapon options. So you have to do the same as everybody else now. You've got to go, this is the role I want for this unit, this is the role I want for this unit, and pick accordingly. I like that. It actually makes battle suits a lot more reasonable to play against. The Hammerhead gunship is another honourable mention because it's absolutely stupid. That cannon deserves to be nerfed. let's just take a quick look at this. The Hammerhead, where are we? Railgun, heavy, devastating, 72-inch range, but it's hitting all the way across the table. It's only one shot, hitting on 4s, but it's heavy, so it can hit on 3s. Strength 20, because, hey, you know, screw you. -5, D6 +6 damage, but it's devastating. So if you got a 6 on that one, that's going straight through. That's hurting most. You know, it might not necessarily take out a vehicle that it hits, whatever, unless it's on its last legs anyway. But that's nasty. It's fairly pointless to shoot a unit with it, but a vehicle or monster is going to have a bad day. You know, I just think that's rather silly. What else have we got? You've still got your 2 flyers, your Skyray and Sunshark. I used to see them used a lot, not so much now. Storm Surge and the, I've got to remember the name of it now, where are we? Riptide still seem quite popular options. I see them frequently in games. As for the Legends options, don't really see it. Used to see somebody that had a Tiger Shark. Never seen anybody play a Manta, thank goodness. And thankfully, I don't know anyone with a Taunar, ridiculously over the top supremacy army unit. I mean, Jesus Christ, looking at the stats on that thing's redonkulous. Okay, so thoughts. Tower and army, I generally, I'll be honest, I have, if I had to guess, I'd say I'm on about 50% win rate with them. I don't like how good the shooting is. I do think they have been upped a little bit, too much on that side of things. I know it's a case of why they have the terrain layouts they try and do, so that you can't just, you know, dakka everything from range. They have to maneuver. But when they get to do their shooting, they are pretty lethal. A little too much in my mind. Yeah, detachments, I'm not going to go over that again. You know, 1 good one, 2 naff, 1 okay. But you've got some interesting units, and I think as an army, they are in a good position at the minute. You might disagree. You know, I see all these ratings videos out there, but I think Tower are in a reasonable position right now. That's my thoughts anyway. Just looking over their detachments and brief look at their units and so forth. They need to check some of their wordings. When I spoke about the greater good, you need to clarify whether that can shoot or not. As I say, I've seen people play it both ways. They can or they can't. But you tell me, if you're a Tau player, what are your thoughts? Let me know on these, especially on those 2 detachments, Carrion and Montcar. If you play against Tau a lot, let me know your thoughts on how they go or your sort of luck with them. Anyway, that's looking at the Tau Empire. This has been a lengthy look at Let's Talk video. Thank you for watching, guys. If you're still here at the end of this, thank you for listening to me drone on in a very monotonous voice. But give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, you know, start a conversation down below, and let's see where we go. Until then, I'll see you in the next video. Take care, guys. Good gaming.